Hey, Viking fans, I have an eyewitness report from last night's crime scene at the Vikings night practice in three, two, one. Gather around, Skull brothers and sisters. This is Skull World, brought to you by Minnesota Sports Talk. I'm your host, Dave. You can follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. I guess it's not Twitter anymore. It's x.com. I don't know. Tanishka, you're one of the big personalities for Vikings Twitter /x.com. I don't know what it is. Do you know what it is? Did Elon Musk tell you?
No, literally, I don't even know how long that's going to be a thing, or if they're just going to end up going back to Twitter. Like, no one knows.
I don't
It's
know.
Twitter blue, so I don't know.
Well, I apologize ahead of time. We got kind of a connection issue. Whatever you could do to speak as loud as possible, that'd be great. Sorry about that. Well, I called it a crime scene. Why? Because Brian Flores killed the Vikings offense last night, and I want to get your eyewitness report on what had happened. Just your general sense of last night before I ask like specific questions.
I thought it was like overall a pretty good practice. I mean, it wasn't like super one-sided. You had guys from both sides of the ball making plays, which I thought was really, really good to see. Especially because I know, like, I feel like everyone kind of just generally knows that the offense is going to be better than the defense this year, most likely at least. But the defense was doing a lot better than I thought, like with the scrimmage. And I think a lot of the times the offense just had no idea what was coming. There was a lot of confusion with like the looks that Flores was just throwing out there. Um, and I know that led to like a bunch of sacks from Ivan Pace had some. I think Jay Ward had a sack at one point. And I feel like I'm pretty sure Harrison Smith did as well. So it was just a lot of blitzing and a lot of chaos. Which I mean, it's totally necessary because it's not like they have the strongest D line. So I thought that was really fun to see, just because our offense, like they go against each other every day, and I think it's training camp's been going on for almost a week at this point, and our offense still did not know how to pick up a blitz to save their lives, and a lot of it was just extremely creative. So that was like one of the biggest things that I saw. Like we haven't seen that kind of blitz, like any of that kind of stuff since like Mike Zimmer with the whole double A gap thing from like years ago at this point. So I love that.
Yeah, I was feeling pretty ecstatic because I figured the offense is going to be there. The offense is going to
Yeah,
come around, and for me, they didn't have a defense to sharpen themselves against. They had nobody last year
yeah,
to even challenge them offensively. I just feel like, and it showed that they could. They can't. We stalled a lot last year, middle of the game. Well, if we got a defense is really causing us to think about what we're going to do during the game, I feel like that's just going to benefit us throughout the year. So
mm-hmm.
I'm taking that in stride. I hopefully we'll see some bounce back, on Tuesday. Are you going to be at that Tuesday practice?
Oh, I will be there too. Yes.
That's cool. That's cool. Is was there any interesting fes- things the Vikings did for the festivities there? Did they do anything special, or is it kind of the same as last year? Throwing autograph footballs in the stands. What did they do?
Yeah, I mean it was mostly just the same as last year, and they had the whole like player intros and just talking, and Kevin O'Connell spoke. Just um, it was really hype. Like I don't know, maybe I remember it being pretty hype last year too, but the vibes were just really good, and everyone was just having fun the entire time. But yeah,
You feel like people are a lot, more optimistic. They higher, let's say, higher expectations this year.
I mean possibly, yeah. I feel like they definitely had a lot more because last year it was just a lot of uncertainty. No one knew what was going to happen. No one knew how good like the coaching would be. No one knew anything honestly last year. But after what happened last year, I feel like a lot of people are more excited about just seeing how they can build on that because it's going to be a lot harder to build on that just because the schedule's harder and people expect that now. I feel like so it's. I think last year was a really good framework for what they expect. Not even this year, but like the next couple of years to be if everything goes right, of course.
And I'm probably not the only one who says this, but we could be a better team and have fewer wins. Both things could be true.
Yeah.
So I now no one's really talking about the offensive line this year, and I think maybe it's because Bryant O'Neal is not practicing. Apparently, he was doing sit-ups on the sidelines. I don't know. I guess that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but was there was there any like starting offensive line getting manhandled or like anything? Was Darrisaw, pancaking people? Was anything like that happening with the offensive line?
I mean, I didn't see anyone specifically getting manhandled, but I did see Dean Lowry looked a lot better than I expected at this point. Just because of how much like he is a little bit on the older side and he's been playing a while. I didn't expect that much from him, but he was he looked pretty good and um I think the interior held up for the most part, but every time they would blitz, it fell apart. Like no one knew who to pick up, and no one knew what they were doing. And they did blitz a lot, so that happened quite a few times. So I think if it's just O line versus D line, it was probably fine, but all the confusion created by the other guys, and there was a lot of times during the scrimmage where they didn't know who to block. So that's kind of a work in progress.
Yeah, I heard Ward, Pace, Harrison Smith a
Yeah.
couple of times. Can't think of any other. We had free reign, came unblocked. Maybe it's just new communication, just not seeing those things before. They talked about, and Kevin O'Connell talked about seeing new fronts and new blitzes, and just it again. It's so different from last year with the absolute vanilla Donishell 7 yards off the ball,
Yeah.
rushing straight up with no creativity. This is so much. It's so. I mean, it's just going to excite us getting back to the way Vikings defense used to be played.
Mm-hmm.
Were there some big plays? I heard there was some like we were able to gash them. The offense was able to gash them a little bit. I heard like a Ty Chandler run. I heard like a couple of screen plays maybe that worked out. What did you see?
I mean, as good as the D line has been, as the front seven has been at getting pressure, just with all the different looks, the secondary, there's not a lot that's desirable, honestly. Like, I mean, obviously our receivers are incredible, our passing offense is incredible, but I know there was a point where Jefferson had two huge plays back to back. Ogborn had a nice touchdown. Addison looked really good. Um, look, all the receivers look good. Blake had a couple catches as well, but the corner room is definitely a work in progress. Like I saw the news, like literally right after practice, that they worked out Ronald Darby yesterday, and I thought that was a
Who
really
did
good
you say that again?
Ronald Darby.
Okay,
So they worked him
so
out yesterday.
and I kind of think it's like how was it Williamson dropped
William,
off. He was in the mix for the three main cornerbacks, and he's kind of fell out of favor a little bit.
yeah, he has. It was basically all black men with that first team. I think Williams was with the first team for like a day or two early in the week, and ever since then it's just been black men. And I think um, he had a nice pass breakup on Addison at one point. That was a play that I distinctly remember. I don't remember when it happened, but it definitely happened at one point. And I mean, he was fine. He's a rookie corner. He's learning. Like I don't expect incredible things right away, but I think he'll be. The reps will certainly help. and I think he's going to get the reps, especially because Andrew Booth can't seem to stay on the field. So,
Mm. Any
yikes.
word on his health? Like, what was the injury?
They didn't say anything specific. I mean, literally before practice, O'Connell was like, "He might practice, but we don't know." And then I don't think I saw him. I mean, he might have been on the sidelines, but I don't think I remember seeing him at all. So, hopefully, it's not anything serious. But I feel like the day after the injury, if they're working out another corner, it might be a longer term thing. I hope not, but we don't know.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I was so high on him after the draft
Same.
you know, and
Yeah.
then to have just injury after injury, and I just,
Right.
people are kind of down on him now. I actually had a hot take that Blackman would win the starting job, so I'm on track for that. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he seems like after the draft, I was like, who the hell is Mekhi Blackman? And then I started finding out that like he's one of the highest rated PFF grades coming out of college at cover, and he's definitely fearless. I thought so. I think he was. I said he's in everybody's. It was in everybody's pocket. He was just holding on to it. So he's got to get past that. But did you see any problems with cornerbacks being handsy?
Not
Like any
particularly.
penalties? Were there like refs out there penalizing people?
There were a couple penalties for sure, but I mean, a lot of it is just because I mean, when you are going against these receivers, I kind of just the desperation just happens at one point or two. I know that Addison touchdown at one of them. He definitely had two, but one of them, I think it was the toe tap one. Um, that one or another, I don't know. There were a couple touchdowns that he had. There was a flag on one of those, but I don't know who the corner was. I couldn't see from where I was, but there wasn't anything about them getting too handsy, but they were pressing a lot, which I thought was also
Hmm.
really nice.
And that's what I felt like Evans and Booth, but he didn't practice. But and Mekhi Blackman, I felt like they were press corners in college, and like
Yes.
I mean, if like Evans was just being misused, obviously Peterson last year was definitely a zone corner,
Yeah.
but all these other guys on our team can't were pressed a lot in college. So I just felt like the defense last year just didn't suit them.
Mhm.
But I think it's better putting these guys up in their faces is going to be a lot better. I like the idea, and I guess Murphy's been the real deal. Like he's
Yeah.
going to be our number one, right? That's what he looks like.
Yeah, definitely. He's been pretty good. I think he'll be a solid guy at the very least. And Evans has been fine as well. Like I think he's also been solid. Like I mean, there's definitely room for improvement, but the coverage has been there. At the end of the day, I think it's just finishing, especially for a Caleb. But Murphy, like I like what I see there.
Now, still on the defense, I guess Davenport and Daniil Hunter weren't practicing, so Wanham and uh, Pat Jones played a lot.
Mhm.
How did they look?
Jones particularly looked really good. He was winning a lot of those one-on-ones that they do, like those drills, and I
You're
don't
saying
think
Pat Jones?
yeah. I thought he looked good, and I think he had a lot of pressures too. When they were doing like the red zone period, like I don't know how much of that was actually against Arisaw because it was a lot of like first team versus second team or second, like it was a mixture of stuff. So I couldn't tell how much was against him. But I mean, he looked good regardless of who he was going against. Wanham was fine too. I think I didn't see anything like that I remember from him, so nothing that blew my mind. But yeah, like they'll be good depth. I think.
Now, I think people are raving about Brian Asamoah, right? How is he looking? Is he? I mean, in college, he flew to the ball, and honestly, he was very intuitive as far as
Yeah.
reading where the play was going, any misdirection. He was really good at that in college. How's he looking at in practice?
He was speedy. I think last year, like we were so accustomed to watching slow linebackers, like everything was like slow motion, and I don't know. I kind of got used to that after like 18 games of that. But he was speedy. He was getting to the ball quick. He I felt like he knew where he had to be. I think he needs a little bit. He needs more work when it comes to coverage, and a couple of those tight end screens. He was a little bit. He didn't know what he was doing. At least I don't think he did, but I think overall he looked fine. And this year is going to be a huge learning experience for him too, because it is his first year starting and actually getting substantial reps like week in and week out. So seeing him grow is going to be really, really exciting.
So people are really talking about, or leaning on the fact that Jalen Rager will probably be the guy getting cut, and like Naylor will get the 4 spot, and like they're saying Brandon Powell is outplaying Rager. Is that, I mean, do you hear the same things or see the same things?
I mean, it was so like they were both fine. Like I didn't see anything special from either of them.
Mm.
I think though, like with the whole cap situation, I don't think you can cut Rager. I mean, you can do anything, but like I don't think that it would be smart to, because then it's like you still owe
It's like
him
2
like
million or something like that they would eat.
yeah, and I just don't think that's worth it when they're basically equivalent players. Like I don't I don't think either of them is going to contribute much on offense. Um I think after the top three receivers and Naylor, so your top four, like at that point, receiver five doesn't matter a whole lot unless everyone's just getting injured anyway. So I think Rager will make it, and I think it's just because of the money. But either way, the difference between them isn't worth the $2 million.
Now with TJ Hawkinson not practicing last night, Josh Oliver probably got a lot of playing time. How did he look? I mean, and is he also as big and huge and fast as he seems?
Yeah, no, he looked good. I think the tight end screens were they did a couple of those. Those
They did
actually,
some tight end screens again.
yeah, they did, but they
Oh
worked.
shit!
I
Oh,
don't know if
they
that's
worked this time. Okay.
so that progress. I don't know if that's the defense's issue or like they figured out how to block tight end screens, but I mean they worked, so fine with me. But Oliver, he can catch, which like everyone knows
Yes.
that he's a great blocker and all that stuff. But he can definitely catch too. Like they have a bunch of weapons. Like it's actually kind of insane how many passing like weapons that this team has now, because like there were three great receivers, arguably four, and then Hawkinson's awesome. And if you can do more with Oliver too, and still keep running those two tight end sets, which I think they'll do more of if and when Hawkinson plays again. I think that's the whole contract situation, which they'll probably get resolved pretty soon.
Oh, you think it's just that? I heard someone say that was probably that too, about maybe it's they're working on extension and they're not
I
going to
don't
put him in any contact or anything.
I don't think
You
I
th-
ever saw anything about him getting hurt or anything, so that's what I assumed.
yeah, I that's what I was hearing too, and based on what other people were reporting. But I don't know for sure, and I don't trust anybody. So even you, I trust you. That's why you're a friend of the program. You've been on our channel more than any guest so far. So we're glad to have you back. Now, safety wise, everybody wants to crap on Quasey for drafting Lewis Sane in the first round, like a regular clockwork. I'm really high on him that he's gonna be a good player in the NFL. He looks athletic. He is athletic. How do you feel like he's doing? I kind of feel like there's gonna be three safeties playing all the time, and Bynum's not gonna be one of them.
Yeah,
What do you think?
what they were doing was just a lot of rotation. Obviously Smith was with the ones all the way, and then it was a bunch of like Metellus. Metellus also looked awesome, and Scene and Bynum too. I feel like between the three of them, it was kind of even between the ones and the twos. It was like a good rotation, but I thought that Metellus and Bynum or Metellus and Scene both looked great. Um, and they were both like speedy. Like they were all over the place,
I
covering
think
like.
Scene's just got the natural speed. Metellus is just a, you know, he's got football speed. Like he's got intelligence. He's attacking type of player.
Yeah, I think Metellus really seemed like he knew the defense. Like it just felt like he knew what he was doing or where he was supposed to be. And they have incredible safety depth, like at the very worst case. And I do feel like there was a lot more of the three safety stuff than we saw last year. And I mean, obviously last year is kind of hard to do after Shane got hurt, but uh, they can do a lot more with that now. And I was especially like every time Harrison blitzed, I think it was almost always. Don't quote me on this because I don't know if it's true because I didn't pay that much attention to who was on the field. But every time he blitzed, it seemed like it was a three safety kind of thing. So that is kind of nice, especially because the corners aren't as good as I think the safety room is. So
Right.
just having good safeties on the back end to help those corners and still being able to blitz and get pressure is going to be really, really helpful.
Yeah, I'm all for getting three safeties on the field. I kind of and I like, the group's awesome, and it sucks that Metellus is probably in the last year of his contract. But if who knows if Harrison just after we win the Super Bowl this year, Harrison Smith retires, and Metellus we can re-sign him. That's something we could do,
Exactly.
and then we'd have Lewis and Metellus there at safeties. So
That's
we're looking
actually,
good in the future.
yeah, for sure.
I was gonna say, a little special teams action. So it ended the night with Greg Joseph hitting a 58-yard field goal, but he missed three.
Yeah.
How did they look? Were they
Um,
shanks? Did he have
one
the
of them,
yips, or
one of them was definitely a shank.
two were
Um,
out, two were over 50 yards? I
yeah,
heard. And
one of the over 50s was just, yeah, not, it was, yeah. The other one, it was I don't remember that much to be honest, because at that point I was like, "Oh, kickers!" But
yeah, we hate kickers here in Minnesota. So
literally, he missed it. I don't think it was a shank, but he just missed it. So I know, like last year, the whole thing about training camp was Greg Joseph would just never miss kicks. Like he maybe
yeah,
missed one, like all camp.
well, the only two he missed were the ones that Wright were holding. That Wright was holding, and then he won the punt. And then he won the punting competition, so he had to
Right?
be the holder. And then the rest is history.
Yeah. I mean that was concerning just because like you three misses is not ideal. And the other kicker, the rookie, I keep forgetting his name.
Bud Lesney,
Yeah, he only missed one. I remember that. But
yeah,
he
he,
had less
he
kicks.
like kicked four and he missed one, but none of them
Yeah,
were like longer kicks, or what am I understanding? Like there were 50. Like his longest one was 50 that he was kicking.
yeah, they were not as long, but that's an interesting battle there, just because if Joseph keeps missing that many. Like, I mean, I get missing over 50, but the other one, like, you can't miss. I think that was probably like 40s or high 30s. Like, that wasn't even that.
So Alexander Madison's dinged up. Is that right?
Yeah.
So we had. Do you know what that injury is?
No, I mean, he was there, but like, he was a full participant, but no one knows the injury, but I don't think it's that serious.
So Ty Chandler got in there and had a big run. How big a run was it? And everybody's talking about how he looks shifty.
Yeah, he's 50. Maybe like 30 yards, 40 yards, something like that. It was good.
Yeah, and they were saying like what McBride didn't really stand out at all. It was out
No,
of the running backs, it was Ty Chandler on a big run and CJ Ham on on a screenplay.
yeah, yeah. The CJ Ham screens are still alive, but I feel like I expected a little bit more from McBride just because of what we've seen with like college, and I was really excited when they drafted him, but it was definitely the Ty Chandler show with that.
And
And
McBride's only, I don't even know if he's 21 yet. So it's like, He's got
Although
some time, and Ty Chandler's 25. So
I do remember that there was a good catch that McBride made. I don't remember who was covering him, but it was good coverage, and there was a lot of contact, but he still made a really nice
oh,
catch. So there's
and that
there's
was
still
and that would be one more than it would probably be up to 5 now in his career of catching passes because I
right.
think he only caught 4 in college. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it's good to hear. And honestly, I made a video on him, and I said I watched the LSU all his touches in the LSU game, and he made a catch, and he looked good doing it.
Yeah.
So I was like, this might not be a problem for him. So that's good to hear.
Mhm.
Let me think of anything else. Oh yeah, quarterbacks. So I'm
Yes.
not worried about Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Not worried about Kirk Cousins. He's gonna be fine this year. But apparently, uh, everybody can tamp their brakes on Jaron Hall taking over this year or next year. But
Oh,
Nick
yeah.
Mullins and Jaron Hall apparently had a rough day yesterday, or is that true?
I thought Paul was a little bit better. I mean, he's also going against third string for the most
Yeah.
part, but I did think he was a little bit better. But I think Hall, at least like immediately, like if not this year, but next year, he's a solid backup. I think that long term wise, he can be that nice backup. He had a couple nice throws. I think to Johnny Munt a couple of times. Munt is also like he's a good tight end. Like if
Yeah, I hear he's looking better than the second year Nick Muse.
yeah, he is a lot better. Like if Hawkinson and Oliver, like if something did end up happening to both of them and Johnny Munt did have to play a lot, like we would still be okay. I think he was good. Like I thought he was pretty good yesterday. Because a couple of times I did see him beat Lewis Seen, and make some catches, so that was nice. Um, but for Jaron Hall, I
I
mean,
don't think the listeners wanted to hear that Johnny Munt is beating Lewis Seen.
I more credit to Johnny Munt there than
Okay.
Lewis Seen being bad. I will say,
Okay. That's good.
because it was like he was there, but Munt just made the catch, and I think that's just him having really good hands. Um, but Jaron Hall, like I don't see anything more than him just being a backup. He was doing really good work in the 11 on 11s. He the other thing he runs a lot. Like if there's any grass out in front of him, he'll take it. Um, and a lot of it like does come with good pocket presence. I thought that his pocket presence was pretty good. But the only thing like watching him play, I want to see more in the preseason because then I can really just focus on him like more than everything else going on and like rewatch things a bit. But he seemed like slow. Like a lot of it was like the processing seemed kind of slow, like getting through his reads and stuff. So a lot of that was it was just slow. Like I don't know what to say other than that. But I think like the highlight from him, he had he had a really nice throw with like a deep route to someone during 11 on 11s. I'm not sure who that was. It wasn't any of the receivers. It was one of the like hand body kind of receivers, but there's potential there, but I don't think the potential is anything more than a good backup that can maybe win a game if something happens, which is fine. I mean, he was like a fifth round pick, so
Cool. Now there was a talk, and it was coming from you that you were going to like possibly announce something. Can you tell the listeners whether or not you're going to start your own YouTube channel? Is that going to happen?
so not exactly a YouTube channel, but
Oh,
I am so sort of maybe I don't know. I am gonna be writing for this website this season and probably for the future. It's called the Fans First Network. It's like made by a lot of the writers that got laid off by SB Nation. So it's like a similar website to that. So I'll be writing for the Vikings, like the Vikings niche of that site, if you want to say. And so there is a podcast with that, and I will probably be contributing to that. I don't know how often, just because my whole thing with school just being so busy this year especially is that I just don't know if I can commit to weekly appearances or weekly like recordings. So I
Except
will
for our show, whenever you ask, he'll jump, right? Yeah,
yeah,
right.
no for sure. But I will probably be contributing there. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Tanishka is gonna set the world on fire, and she's gonna take over Vikings fandom. Follow her wherever she goes. But I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for reporting on that crime scene last night, and I can't wait to have you on again. Maybe I'll reach out to you. When are you going back to school? Like, when are you leaving?
In like under 2 weeks, a little under 2 weeks.
Okay, so we might be able to bring you back on after next Tuesday's. Cool. I'll try to hit you up. I appreciate it. That's it for today. Skull Vikes.
Skull.